At Capella University, learning online doesn't mean learning alone. You'll get support from people who care about your success, like your enrollment specialist who gets to know you and the goals you'd like to achieve. You'll also get a designated academic coach who's with you throughout your entire program. Plus, career coaches are available to help you navigate your professional goals. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The best TV comes in many forms, from real-life mysteries to blockbuster dramas, family favorites, and buzzworthy reality shows. Philo makes it easy to stream them all with one simple, affordable subscription. For just $33 a month, Philo offers more than 70 live channels, including favorites like AMC, A&E, MTV, Discovery, and Nickelodeon, plus on-demand TV like the entire AMC Plus library. Whatever the mood, there's always something new to uncover. Philo subscribers also get access to HBO Max Basic with ads and Discovery Plus at no extra cost, along with unlimited DVR that saves shows for up to a year. No long contracts, no complicated setup, just endless entertainment ready to stream anytime. Ready for a better way to bundle all the TV you love? Get started at philo.tv. That's PHILO.tv. Your next obsession is waiting.
And what's going on, Los Angeles, Bruin Nation, LAFB fam? How we doing? The Madman here for all of your UCLA football needs. And first and foremost, like I did for the last episode, just want to wish all of our Bruin Nation, Bruin faithful, all of our LAFB family a very happy and joyous Thanksgiving holiday. This is just such a wonderful time of the year. We're sort of in the teeth of the holidays here. We just had Halloween a few weeks ago, and Christmas and all the other beautiful year-end celebrations are upon us. And so just what a great time it is, to be alive and to be grateful and to just, have so much to be thankful for in terms of friends and family and loved ones and things that we're able to do. I know we're so thankful and blessed and grateful here at the LAFB Network to be able to do this and to be able to sort of share our passion with all of you. And so thankful for all of you to take time out of your busy lives, out of your busy days, to leave a few minutes for Will and myself. And it's just me tonight, as in the spirit of Thanksgiving. The Thriller is on an airplane right now, headed to St. Louis to spend time with family and friends for Thanksgiving. And me being local with all the grandparents and all the family being in Los Angeles, I get the luxury of being able to kind of bum around the house during this time of year in the best of ways. So figured what better way to kick off the Thanksgiving holiday than to be with our fellow Bruin Nation and talk football program. And so obviously we got a lot going on. Thriller and I obviously shared our preview for the big one this week, the Victory Bell game, the famed SC-UCLA game, and lots going on there. Obviously certain questions about who's going to play, who's not going to play. Potentially the last game for Tim Skipper, last game for Jerry Neuheisel, last game for Coach Coyle. And then, of course, is Nico Iamaleava going to play against SC? And if he does, is this his last game at UCLA? Because you got to believe he's going to be exploring transfer portal options as well and looking at what's best for him and his family. But taking that aside for a second, I wanted to talk about the coaching search, because as big as this game is in terms of the crosstown rivalry, at the end of the day, if UCLA wins, it'll be ecstasy but it'll be ecstasy with a 4-8 season. And if UCLA loses, it'll be agony, but it'll be agony with a 3-9 season. Either way, the season ends Saturday, and there's a much bigger picture here at stake, namely, what is the future direction of this football program, and who is the face of that future direction going to be, namely the next head coach of our beloved UCLA Bruins. And so wanted to get on to really talk about where I think the program's head is right now, because I know, and I've gotten a lot of texts about this, and friends and family and fellow alumni have told me, hey, what's going on? I mean, we've had this vacancy now for a while. We've obviously had it since very early in the season after the 0-3 start. We know what happened there to DeShaun Foster. But now you start looking around the country and you see Virginia Tech has solidified their next head coach in James Franklin from Penn State. Then you look at what's going on with Arkansas, and it looks like Arkansas is solidifying their next head coach with Alex Golish, who is the current head coach of South Florida, who's someone that UCLA has had a significant eye on as a potential program builder. So Arkansas looks like they're moving forward. Oklahoma State hired the North Texas coach. They've solidified their job. You look at Colorado State, ironically enough, hires Jim Mora. Yes, the same one and the same. Our Jim Mora from 2012 to 2017. And so Jim Mora now leaves for UConn to Colorado State. So you're starting to see, these vacancies getting filled, and you're sitting there and wondering, well, what's really going on now with UCLA? Why isn't UCLA filling this vacancy? And I think there's two things that are going on right now. I think there's sort of two different phenomena. The first is, I think, the targeting of Bob Chesney. And Bob Chesney, as Rick Neuheisel talked about 10 days ago, and Will and I talked about it in detail, Rick Neuheisel said Bob Chesney's got a decision to make. And I think the football committee has really centered on Bob Chesney as being potentially, at the very top of the wish list for UCLA moving forward. He's 2 games away from taking James Madison to the college football playoff. Yes, James Madison is 2 wins away from the top 12 college football playoff. Yes, you heard that correctly. And Bob Chesney inherits a situation from Curt Cignetti. Let's not forget, Curt Cignetti was the previous coach of James Madison, took 30-plus players from James Madison to Indiana, and has turned them into an absolute power in less than 2 years. And so everyone is sort of eyeing Bob Chesney as potentially the guy that has this Curt Cignetti effect potentially on his next spot. And I think what has made this run of James Madison with Bob Chesney so special is that it's not like he inherited the power roster, because all of those players went with Cignetti to Indiana. He had to completely rebuild the James Madison roster. And within year 2, here he is sitting year 2 at 9-1, 2 wins away from the college football playoff. So Bob Chesney, I think, really understands how to build a program from scratch. Bob Chesney understands how to win in a place that isn't going to win at all costs, where you have to take the academics into account. You have to take the cultural elements into account, the social elements. You have to be able to do it the right way as you do at UCLA. And I think he fits the total package. Now, I think the question here is, well, if you come from James Madison, here is a shiny Power 4 job in the form of UCLA. Why aren't you just sort of taking the job? And it really comes down to, I think, 2 things. One is, I don't think Chesney wants to disrupt the momentum of what he's got going on at James Madison for this season. Because if he were to take another job, I think we've seen it so many times in college football, year over year, where a Cinderella team or a team is on an incredible run, coach announces that he's taking the next job. And even though he's still there to coach up until the end of the season, it's distracted. He's trying to do 2 things at once. He's trying to multitask. His heart's not in it in the same way, and the players feel it, and usually there's a flame out. And I think Chesney wants to really honor the season that James Madison has had, and almost makes him an even more desirable candidate, if you ask me, in that way, to really see it through and then, be able to make a decision as a head coach. Now, I think that's one rationale. The other rationale, I think that is as likely, if not more likely, is Chesney being a guy who was from Pennsylvania and from the Northeast. You gotta believe that the Penn State job is his top choice. And it hurts me to say that as someone who bleeds UCLA, but just given where Penn State has been as a program, particularly over the last 15 years relative to where UCLA has been, and given that geographic alignment for Chesney, I think you got to believe that he wants that Penn State job first and foremost. And he's got a super agent in Jimmy Sexton, who's basically kind of the Drew Rosenhaus equivalent for a number of different college football coaches. And I think he's working the Jimmy Sexton magic, if you will, as a sports agent, driving that price up and really kind of creating urgency. And as of Wednesday night, when this podcast was recorded, you're starting to now sense that Bob Chesney and Penn State is heating up. It's heating up, and I think where there's some smoke, there's some fire. So just like Rick Neuheisel said, Bob Chesney has a decision to make. I don't think that decision is stay at James Madison or go to UCLA. I think that decision is going to be go to Penn State or go to UCLA. And I think ultimately, if you were to ask me, I think he's going to pick Penn State if he was offered that job. So that's, I think, where UCLA is in right now. I don't think the ball necessarily is in their court because their number one candidate, it has multiple options potentially that he's weighing. And so where does that leave you? If Bob Chesney is off the board, what's the other name that we've talked about as sort of a 1A, 1B? And I know he's a polarizing figure for a lot of our fans, but the success is undeniable and the alignment with West Coast football is undeniable, and that is Jedd Fisch. However, there's another scenario out there that's taking place, namely Lane Kiffin. Yes, the same Lane Kiffin of USC. He is being reportedly courted by LSU, by Florida, and being courted by Ole Miss from a retainment perspective. So you got 3 SEC schools, big-time budgets, who are all courting Lane Kiffin. And I think if, I have no immediate insight into what's going on with Lane Kiffin, but knowing kind of the Lane Kiffin mentality from his time at USC, I think that there's a sense that Kiffin is probably going to take the LSU job. And if I were to sort of bet, I would bet that Kiffin takes the LSU job. And why is that significant for UCLA? Because that would mean Florida lost the Kiffin sweepstakes. And then I think Florida then redirects their energies to Jedd Fisch. And the reason is, and we've talked about it at length, Jedd Fisch, A, University of Florida alum, but B, he started his career as a GA under Steve Spurrier. And that famous story of him leaving a note outside Spurrier's car for over 400 consecutive days until Spurrier finally gave him a shot. You got to believe the sentimentality for Fisch on the road to, sort of his next spot leads through Gainesville, Florida. And Fisch was always sort of a flight risk when it came to UCLA.
If you're a custodial supervisor at a local high school, you know that cleanliness is key and that the best place to get cleaning supplies is from Grainger. Grainger helps you stay fully stocked on the products you trust, from paper towels and disinfectants to floor scrubbers. Plus, you can rely on Grainger for easy reordering, so you never run out of what you need. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The best TV comes in many forms, from real-life mysteries to blockbuster dramas, family favorites, and buzzworthy reality shows. Philo makes it easy to stream them all with one simple, affordable subscription. For just $33 a month, Philo offers more than 70 live channels, including favorites like AMC, A&E, MTV, Discovery, and Nickelodeon, plus on-demand TV like the entire AMC Plus library. Whatever the mood, there's always something new to uncover. Philo subscribers also get access to HBO Max Basic with ads and Discovery Plus at no extra cost, along with unlimited DVR that saves shows for up to a year. No long contracts, no complicated setup, just endless entertainment ready to stream anytime. Ready for a better way to bundle all the TV you love? Get started at philo.tv. That's PHILO.tv. Your next obsession is waiting.
Just because he's always sort of hopped every 3 years, and I think he's got his ultimate aspirations on the NFL. So I think that's the situation that we're in. Chesney is a guy that this committee really wants. Chesney's looking at Penn State. Fish is someone who has always shown an affinity to UCLA, but I think Florida right now is in a position, assuming Kiffin takes that LSU job, Fish is going to go to Florida. So let's say Chesney goes to Penn State, Fish goes to Florida. It's almost kind of the doomsday scenario. Where does UCLA go from there? And what is plan B and C? If you look at Vegas, they're looking at sort of two names that are bubbling back up. One is Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, whose dad coached under Terry Donahue at UCLA for 20 years and whose brother played at UCLA. And then, of course, Tony White, the former player at UCLA, currently the defensive coordinator of Florida State. So I think, and we have talked about both of these individuals even a couple of years ago when DeShaun ultimately got the job as two viable candidates. I think the challenge right now with Tony White, and he was on that call, if you recall, that Wayne was on with Martin Jarman after, DeShaun Foster got fired. Over 100 alumni were on that call. Tony White was on that call. And it was just very interesting that he made the time to be on that call, even though he was a sitting defensive coordinator for Florida State and still is. You can tell he's somebody who really wants this job. The question, though, with Tony White is, Florida State's defense has struggled this year. And, he came from Nebraska the previous 2 years. Nebraska's sitting at a, potentially either an 8-4 or 7-5 season. And defensively, Nebraska's been about the same as they were without Tony White. So the place he left kind of stayed the same. They didn't get worse. And the place that he's at right now as a defensive coordinator has really struggled. They were better than the 2-10 team, but they're only sitting at 5-6 right now with a roster and a program that has significantly higher expectations than that. So Tony White, while he's a Bruin, I don't know if Tony White's performance over the last 1 to 2 to 3 years really warrants a significant increase in terms of responsibility as the head football coach at UCLA. And then you flip it to the other side with Tommy Rees. He's young, and I think he's shown a lot of promise. He was offensive coordinator at Alabama in 2023, offensive coordinator for Notre Dame 2020 to 2022. So big-time programs, big-time jobs as an offensive coordinator, and I think knows how to relate to the modern player in a very significant way. But it's a big jump. It's a big jump that we're seeing to go from coordinator to head coach. And Will and I talked about it, that you'd rather pick a head coach who knows how to do the entirety of the job, but just at a lesser program, and elevate the program, but the responsibility stays the same, rather than elevate the responsibility and the prestige of the program stays the same. And I think in both Rees as well as in White's case, you're now taking a coordinator and they're going to be a first-time head coach. So I think there's some questions about that. So I think that's where we are, Bruin fans, in terms of Chesney and Fish really being the top of the top in terms of the target wish list. But unfortunately, this year in college football is the equivalent of being on Bumble, frankly, for head coaches. You're trying to go after somebody, but you always got to be worried right now about them going after somebody else. And I think that's what we're seeing. Chesney at Penn State, Fish at Florida. If, unfortunately, God forbid, both those guys went in a different direction, then I think Rees and White come to the forefront. I think there's things to like, but I think there's also some significant challenges that Will and I will assess way more for all of you in the days to come, in the weeks to come, as this clarity takes shape. But I think there's an expectation both for Penn State as well as for Lane Kiffin, where decisions are going to be made. For Lane Kiffin, decision is going to be made after the Egg Bowl. So this weekend, we should be seeing, by Sunday, clarity with the Lane Kiffin situation, and then other teams, the domino effect is going to fall. And reports are that Penn State is going to make a decision by early next week. So we're sitting here on Wednesday night. It's only a matter of another 4 or 5 days where the dust starts settling on both Chesney as well as with Kiffin, and then by proxy Fish. And so now we can sort of reset the board early next week and see where we are. Because remember, the other key milestone here is December 3rd, which is National Signing Day. And this program has done a phenomenal job, UCLA, in being able to solidify some recruits, even with the uncertainty of the coaching search. But the reality of the situation is, look, the Victory Bell game is on the 29th. Even if at the earliest Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week, given how these two candidates lay out, you get a coach, you're 1 day away from National Signing Day. So the National Signing Day for this year is pretty much hardwired. So whoever comes in as the new head coach is going to really have to hit that transfer portal hard for 2026. And that's why I've always said 25 and 26, we have to think of it holistically as a rebuild. This is a 2-year rebuild, particularly on the offensive and defensive lines, because the reality of the situation is, as much as we love our team, we love our program, we have to be very honest. UCLA right now is not a credible Power 4 team on both sides of the trenches. It's just the reality of the situation. When your leading sack maker has 1.5 sacks on the season, you have a problem. When your quarterback leads your team in rushing by 183 yards, and he has already missed a game and a half, and he's still leading the team in rushing by over 183 yards, you've got a problem. And Javion Thomas didn't forget how to run. Woods didn't forget how to run. The problem is they don't have much to run to, given this offensive line, and Nico's been running for his life most of the year. And then on the flip side, we just haven't had any semblance of pass rush. We haven't had any semblance of consistently setting the edge, and we haven't had any semblance of being able to provide resistance when teams are running in between the tackles. And when you sort of overlay that with, on the offensive line side, Unije, DeGiorgio, Cortland Ford, all graduating. And then on the defensive line side, Gary Smith III, Keanu Williams, Jacob Usage, Devin Apu, as well as Keyshawn Bennett, all graduating. You are starting from scratch on both defensive lines. So whoever the coach is going to be is leaning into that situation. So 26 is going to be a total rebuild regardless of who the coach is. I think why we like Chesney so much is, can he use that Cignetti model and bring the James Madison players with him? And so now you've replenished your roster very, very quickly. That's how Indiana was able to win so soon. So lots to unpack, but keep your eye out, folks, on kind of early next week. We'll have it all covered for you. We're, of course, going to have the great recap of the Victory Bell game and ending the season. And then the focus is going to be significantly on the coaching search as well as on recruiting. And before we get out of here, got to talk about our sponsors, got to pay the bills around here. Sleeper app, #1 sports app in the market today. You've got real-time chat, you've got engagement, you've got news feeds, and you've got the beautiful promo code UCLA LAFB that gets you $100 off match bonus. So you put in 100 into the Sleeper app, you get 100 for free. 100 becomes 200, and you can go and explore all of your parlays, all of your over-unders, all of the various lines across every sport in the country. Download the #1 sleeper app in the market today and tell them that guys from the LAFB network send you, and use that promo code UCLA LAFB. Well, folks, once again, a happy and blessed Thanksgiving and holiday season. Much love from the Madman, and let's see how this coaching situation plays itself out over the days to come. And Thriller and I always got your back. And as always, be loud, be proud, be passionate, Bruins. And like we always say, 4's up forever, baby.
The best TV comes in many forms, from real-life mysteries to blockbuster dramas, family favorites, and buzzworthy reality shows. Philo makes it easy to stream them all with one simple, affordable subscription. For just $33 a month, Philo offers more than 70 live channels, including favorites like AMC, A&E, MTV, Discovery, and Nickelodeon, plus on-demand TV like the entire AMC Plus library. Whatever the mood, there's always something new to uncover. Philo subscribers also get access to HBO Max Basic with ads and Discovery Plus at no extra cost. along with unlimited DVR that saves shows for up to a year. No long contracts, no complicated setup, just endless entertainment ready to stream anytime. Ready for a better way to bundle all the TV you love? Get started at Philo.tv. That's PHILO.tv. Your next obsession is waiting.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.